Hi everyone, this is JezMM and welcome to my very specific YouTube video on... No, YouTube tutorial! Why are you messing me up, Molly?
I'm not doing anything.
Hi everyone, this is JezMM and welcome to my very specific YouTube tutorial video on how to create the exact Chamomile comic that I made this week. The footage you're about to see is about 3 hours and 40 minutes long originally, which is about typical for a Chamomile comic like this one, where I'm not having to draw any new backgrounds or complicated lighting. Those will usually take about 6 to 8 hours depending on complexity. The footage will start shortly. I just needed a bit of extra talking time since the first step goes by pretty quickly in time-lapse form. With me is my glamorous assistant Molly, who proofreads all the comics before I post them, telling me whether they're good or great. Sorry. So anyway, I keep a notepad file with comic ideas. Some of them are half-baked and some of them fully baked. So I'm not spoiling any future comics. The notepad file that you're about to see is a modified version of the one that I normally use, which only contains ideas that I've already used. Most comic days will start with me scrolling up and down this notepad, being unsatisfied with all that I've come up with and not being in the mood to draw any of them. And while 1 in 10 times I'll go lie on the sofa, stare at the ceiling and try and come up with a scene for a joke from scratch, usually I'll eventually give in and pick one. If I'm doing a story arc, I'll usually plan out all the comics and jokes in advance of beginning it, just to make sure I'm not setting myself up for hitting a dead end mid-arc. So once I've settled on an idea, if I haven't already at the time I noted it down, I'll write out a panel by panel script for it while imagining the pacing of the comic in my head. Next I'll open up Clip Studio Paint, which I should really be using for the whole comic, but I'm scared of it still, so I just use it for dialogue and quick panel building. It's flexible whether I start with the dialogue or the panels first. In this case I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to fit it all together, so I began with the dialogue to see how much room it would take up, and then built the panels from there. Are you with me so far?
Yeah. I mean, in addition to you lying on the sofa, quite often it's you pacing around the room telling me something.
That's true.
Or just waiting for something interesting to happen.
Yeah, just sit there and watch you. Watch the dog.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm just chatting until you come up with something, really.
Yeah.
I'm just talking through the ideas. Yeah. Just wait till I say something hilarious.
Yeah. So back in Paint Tool Sci, I grabbed my pre-made banner template and edit the comic number in the top right, which you might not even be aware is there until now. I wanted to keep it subtle.
I did not know.
Yeah, I've never
seen that.
I wanted to keep it subtle because I didn't like how a bold number in the title made it lopsided with nothing on the other side. That bothered me.
I can't believe I never noticed this.
Yeah. So I paste in the panels and the text, and then we're good to go. I don't always thumbnail out the art like this because I've drawn these characters enough time that I can just draw them from scratch, but sometimes it's helpful to thumbnail out the art. So mainly so I don't forget what I had in my head when I was writing out the dialogue and pulling out the panels, because I can't always do it in one go. So
I just like the little faces.
Yeah, I always make sure to draw little faces. A minute ago there, I forgot to draw a little face on Chamomile, and I went back and did it, even though I didn't need to. I knew what was going in there.
Does that help you remember exactly what you were going for?
Yeah, basically.
So if you have to leave it partway through, you can come back and
you're
not sitting there going, what was happening in this
pretty
scene?
much, because I've definitely far too many times had it happen like that, where I come back and I had no idea what I had in mind when I wrote the dialogue.
Why is Chamomile yelling?
So with the main line art, I usually start by drawing the character's head shape or their fringe, and I just draw from there, rather than plotting it out properly. If I'm having trouble drawing a pose or whatever, then I'll plot it out properly and do planning and stuff, but if I can get away with just drawing them quickly off the top of it, I'll just do that. Vienna, I usually start with their glasses. Chamomile starts with their fringe.
The key part of
their
design, I guess.
Yeah.
She wouldn't be who she is without her glasses or her fringe or whatever.
Although every now and then I'll draw Vienna without her glasses just so I can get used to what her eyes look like, in case I do eventually reveal them. So there, because I was drawing Vienna's head tilted, I can't really draw that from scratch, so I do the little cube guide thing.
That's so smart, though.
Yeah, I can't remember what artist I got that from. It was either Lois or Renee Cleo. I can't remember her name now.
Someone.
Yeah.
Someone. It's good though. It's a cool idea to do to get the angle right.
Yeah.
And keep it sort of, because it's a 3D shape.
Yeah.
Even though it's a 2D style.
Yeah, so
Otherwise
I'll
they
do
look
that.
a bit warped.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I'll also do a lot of here, like Cammy's face didn't quite come out
Does
right.
not like that at all.
So
Okay,
like,
it's
yeah,
fair,
I'll
but
do a
I'm
lot
just
of tweaking. Yeah.
Please, no, you can't have her cry.
Yeah. What else have we got to talk about? Just look at my script here.
Is it hard to draw her glasses?
Yeah, like I'm
Glasses are
always.
so hard to draw.
Yeah. Yeah, it helps that I draw them very cartoony, and I don't have to worry about drawing her eyes behind them.
They're basically her eyes.
Yeah. I think in a later panel here, I drew a line straight across first, because if I don't do that, they'll always be like lopsided. Like the one that's technically further away will be bigger than the one that's closer, or something, if I draw them freehand. So yeah. So I've got a load of filler stuff in my script here where I didn't have anything to talk about for a while, so I like jump back and forth. But we've already covered that. I'll do a lot of copying and pasting if, like, I don't need to draw Vienna from scratch every time she's looking at Chamomile here, so there was no point in doing so.
Cheating.
But usually what I'll do is I'll copy and paste and then I'll draw over the top, so it's still like kind of rough and not exact, and I always draw the colouring fresh anyway.
The
so.
poses are so good.
Oh, thank you.
I really like her poses. They're really dynamic. Like, I know some comics you've had where they do stand around talking more,
Yeah.
but when you have a pose and like there's a chance to do one,
Yeah.
you do tend to try and push them quite.
Yeah,
a bit
like I
more.
don't want it to look like a comic which is like just made out of copy pasted parts every week, so I try to.
It's a bit cartoony,
Yeah.
and I like that about
Yeah.
it.
As long as it doesn't like go overboard, I'll always try and do fun poses when I can, because otherwise I would get bored of drawing it every week. Like,
Yeah. That's fair.
yeah.
Just because I was thinking with like her pointing, it's quite like a pushed beyond just pointing.
Yeah. No, I
So
needed
sort of
that one.
rubberiness.
Yeah, I needed that panel to like get across the fact that she's like yelling and annoying Vienna, basically. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah. I usually, whenever I'm drawing like scenery behind stuff, I'll like vaguely draw it and then erase it out afterwards. Because if I know that I'm not going to need to move, yeah, I drew like a straight line across just to make sure that Vienna's facial expression there was as annoyed as possible. But yeah.
Don't you wish you could draw them this quickly?
Yeah. What do you mean? Did I? I don't think I said it was sped up at the beginning. This is all. No, that would make it seem like it's easy.
In real time.
Yeah, you're right. I should have slowed down this footage so people could really see my drawing technique. But yeah, again, like there, I copy-pasted the small Vienna to act as a guide for the big Vienna, because I wanted to make it clear that her facial expression had not changed between panels. But yeah. Here, I spent absolutely ages on this expression, because it was like kind of a key part of the humour that Chamomile was doing a stupid face at the end. So I spent a while like working on this and adjusting it, because it's really hard to draw like it's really hard to draw exaggerated stuff. So what I usually do is I'll start with like as close as I can get, and then I'll exaggerate it from there. So this is like nothing like the eventual expression she has, because in a second I like make her eyes even squintier and even sadder with like her brow and stuff, and I readjust her mouth so it's even like bigger, like bawling, that kind of thing.
So good. She's so sad.
Because I really needed to get across as well.
Sad.
Like I really needed to get across that she is genuinely sad here, whereas before she was like faking it. So that was a tricky thing to do as well, when your character is always doing stupid faces. Like,
Yeah, you can see so warp
so
it
yeah,
a
I
bit
like
and things.
squint it up and
Squint it up for
yeah.
the technical term.
Yeah. And even when like I thought I was done there, but no, even then I still go back and adjust it.
It's one of the good things about it being digital, that you can just
Yeah.
keep adjusting.
I find it really hard to draw traditional nowadays because of how used I am to having all of the moving around stuff at
You can
my
just warp things
disposal.
and copy things and undo it, and otherwise you're sort of stuck with what you did.
Yeah.
It just makes it a chore, really. Especially if you want to do it every week.
Yeah,
It must
exactly.
speed it
Yeah.
up.
So colouring. I always do like one colour at a time, so I'm not having to constantly go back and forth between like where I'm grabbing the colours from. Luckily, that cover art that I did earlier this year has all 4 of the main characters on in their standard outfits with all colours accounted for, so I can usually grab stuff from that. But if it's something like the cafe counter or that sort of thing, I'll just open up the last time I did a comic with them at the cafe and grab the colours from there. Because I feel like the more prepared I am, the less able I am to do stuff like this. Like, I need to keep impromptu, like, as soon as I have detailed character references and that kind of thing.
That's another benefit of digital art as well, because you can just colour pick things.
Yeah, pretty much. Even though I used soft shading on that cover page, I kept a version without soft shading, so I could grab the clean colours easily for the soft shaded stuff.
Shiny.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, anime destroyed my mind when I was learning how to draw, and now if I don't make everything shiny, it doesn't look three-dimensional to me. Like, and I know that's entirely in my head, and like it would still look 3D to the audience,
That's
but
cute,
to me,
though.
yeah. But
I think it's cute.
Yeah, I think it gives a unique appeal that makes it recognisable.
Well, you don't want it to look flat.
Yeah.
If it's just 2 or 3 colours, it can
look
a little flat sometimes, so it looks more interesting as well. And they're all cute, so why not make them a bit cuter? It's all just about pushing that, getting a little bit of extra cute out there.
There's a little sparkle in their eyes. Yeah, I do all the colouring on one layer as well, because again, it's one of those things that just keeps everything simple and easy, so I don't get overwhelmed by complicated stuff when I'm making it every week. But if I'm doing like a complicated scene, like when they were at the fun fair and I had all that lighting and stuff, then I'll probably draw them and colour them a bit more similar to how I would do like a random piece of art, where everything's on separate layers, because it's much easier to apply lighting when everything's on separate layers. But if I'm just using standard daylight sort of lighting, where I can just use their natural colours, there's no need for any of that. So I just do it on one layer, and sometimes it's annoying and I have to like flatten things down and push them about and paint over them if I need to fix stuff later, but I'm fine with that. Fine.
It's your own fault.
Yeah, it feels quicker, so... what else?
Chamomile's wearing my jumper.
Yeah.
I own his jumper.
Do you have that jumper?
Yeah, I have that jumper upstairs.
You never wear that jumper. Why don't you wear that jumper for me anymore? I mean, why don't you wear that jumper anymore?
I own that jumper.
I think I did get like the inspiration to make it that colour from that jumper, because it's a cute colour. Yeah. I spent ages like making her crying as ugly as possible.
It's a little snotty nose.
That's the important part. You can make the characters cute, but you're not allowed to not make them ugly when they need to be ugly, otherwise you're a coward.
It's that little furrowed brow as well.
Oh yeah, for the backgrounds, I always try and keep in mind like the real layout of where they are, but I do just paint them with the airbrush and like do fake blurry backgrounds. But I try and keep the context where they are. So we've got like a blurry table and the blurry hatch to the kitchen and the blurry front door there in all of their proper places, so they match up to when I do draw the backgrounds properly. Also, this whole time while working on the comic, I've probably been like workshopping the dialogue in my head and wanting to change stuff to make it a bit more snappy. So here I go back into Clip Studio Paint again to edit that, and this all gets flattened down onto one layer. So again, I have to go back into Clip Studio Paint anytime I want to edit it. So it's going to be like one of my New Year's resolutions to learn how to do everything in Clip Studio Paint like a big boy, instead of yeah.
It's like you get me to reread it, and then I'll go, actually, change this word, and then you have to go through this whole process to change it all, and it's not actually that easy.
Yeah.
I do feel bad when I find things.
No, yeah, that's fine. I also draw and colour all the speech bubbles by hand, because it's kind of therapeutic for me, like colouring by numbers, even though it's a complete waste of time, and I should really learn how to do it properly in Clip Studio Paint. So again, New Year's resolutions.
I do think sometimes though, when you have like the sort of, like brush speech bubbles or the pre-made shapes, they do sometimes just look a bit boring.
Yeah,
and there's something quite nice about having...
I feel like Clip Studio Paint's versatile enough that I would be able to make it look like my own stuff if I wanted to. Oh yeah, here I tried to put the speech bubble behind Vienna's head, but I don't like how it looked. But here's another example of how I cheat things. It didn't actually go behind Vienna's head, I just drew some extra line art to make it look like it was going behind Vienna's head. Sometimes I will do them all on separate layers, but most of the time, any excuse I have to do everything on one layer, I will.
I do love this wobbly
Yeah,
speech bubble.
I do. I think that's another reason why I like drawing my own speech bubbles, because I really like playing with speech bubbles and like doing silly stuff to.
Too soon, VM.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
So good.
Although in my head, I imagine her voice like cracked when she said that. She was like, "Too soon, VM." like,
it does read that way.
Yeah.
I think it's
that's what I was going for.
It's
Obviously,
another...
yeah, you can never guarantee everyone will read it as you expect.
It's another pro of being able to do it yourself.
Now, I also try to keep my watermarking really subtle on the comic, especially if I have to put it halfway through like that, because I don't want people to randomly read JezMM halfway through the dialogue. So I hide it in there, but yeah. And then finally here, I'm like cropping for the web size and stuff, making the thumbnail for Tapas. And that is the comic done. So if you followed every step in this video, you should have an identical comic in front of you right now. And I'll see you in court. But yeah, that's how I make a Chamomile comic. Any last thoughts?
I was going to ask, how do you decide what to make your thumbnails?
I always use the first panel unless it's impractical too, because I really don't want to like spoil any aspect of the joke beforehand.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like a choice you made from the beginning, or if that's something that just happens.
No, yeah, I made that choice from the beginning. In a perfect world, I would have it on my own website where if you've read through the comic to the end, all the thumbnails get dynamically replaced with like ones that are actually representative of the comic, so you can find the one you're looking for again. But because I don't want to spoil anything, like having Chamomile chasing a seagull down the road, if that isn't happening in the first panel, I won't put that in the first panel, because I want people to go in with no expectations. And that's also why I name them after a random word from the first speech bubble rather than what they're actually about.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me. I think that was a lot more entertaining than my
yeah,
first pass of the
I like seeing you make things.
Yeah.
I always like watching anybody make stuff. It's just interesting seeing how someone else does something and like their process.
Yeah.
So
well, you don't have to talk up the video. They've already watched.
Yeah, I'm saying to you.
I don't care about your opinion.
You.
Oh, this is swearing in camera.